Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to wade back into the Acolyte situation, the quagmire of fan vitriol and journalists accusing fans of being toxic and all of this mess that has been going on. To be fair, I watched episode 3 of the Acolyte. You did not?
No, I didn't watch any of this shit show. I'm not gonna.
I truly don't care about the show one way or the other. I'm gonna be honest. I think it's as far as I'm concerned, all Disney Star Wars is really bad fan fiction. But we're gonna talk about how it's not even fan fiction because the people running the show are not even paying attention to the canon that's been established.
Then everybody's gonna rush and tell you that that's not true. That wasn't the canon. Nothing was retconned. You're full of crap.
Yeah, right.
That was Legends.
We're gonna talk about this, but yeah, as far as the all the toxicity, it's just basically scratch out the title of this Star Wars show, replace it with another Star Wars show or movie, rinse and repeat. Every Star Wars anything that ever comes out. The toxic fans are mad about XYZ. The toxic bigots are after XYZ actor, actress, whatever. But we have a few twists this time around. This one I thought was really interesting. I saw it this morning. Polygon said that they thought it was stupid they put pronouns in Star Wars. Proper pronoun usage. They call attention to it on screen in the latest episode, and they're actually calling it out.
Yeah, because it's getting ridiculous.
It is. It's basically beyond parody at this point. And it is a bad parody of Star Wars. Again, we'll talk about canon. We'll talk about the backlash. We'll talk about all that. But I don't consider any Disney Star Wars actual canon Star Wars. And you can fight me. I don't care. As far as I'm concerned, George Lucas made his movies. Anything he was directly involved in is considered G-canon. And that's the only real Star Wars. Everything else it's up to you if you like it, don't like it, whatever. But this whole like fan baiting, this just feels like something they're doing to drum up interest.
I guess exactly what they're doing. I've seen some headlines that it was like, you're just doing that to get clicks.
That's exactly it. Like they know they're going to get clicks. Well, if we say something about these YouTubers, which they did, apparently they called out Nerdrotic and Critical Drinker on Looper, and it sounded like an AI video.
Well, I didn't see it, but I'm surprised I haven't gotten my ass called out yet because I'm the one that has major meltdowns ripping these journos into pieces. Potassium coming for you.
Paul,
next.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Paul because Paul, man, he had a heel turn. He turned to the dark side.
I thought he was full of crap.
I used to like Paul Tassi. I used to talk about him, in regards to video game journalism. I thought he was one of the few legit video game journalists left. But again, I think now all these desperate websites are chasing views. So they know that if they attach themselves to some kind of a controversy with YouTubers, they're getting a lot more views, a lot more clicks, that they can sort of ride that wave, I think, until the end. Because I think a lot of these people know that the end is coming very, very quickly. The Daily Beast, you weren't in that video, but I did a video yesterday where they laid off they bought out 70% of their staff.
Yeah, well, it's coming for other ones too, because, everything going on with Google.
We're going to talk about this. So before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Get woohoo if you do.
Woohoo.
So let's go out to Paul Tassi's article. Again, this just all feels so fake. It all feels manufactured.
Well, okay, so you don't do this as much as I do, but I'm on different boards that are Disney boards, and I'm on different places, and I keep seeing this over and over and over and over again, where someone says, I don't like the Acolyte, and then immediately it's followed with, that's because you're a bigot, that's because you're an incel. That was one on the Disney, one of the annual pass holder boards. It's because you're incels. And I'm like, listen, dude, I'm a woman, I'm not an incel, and I would love for you to tell me, how I should feel about this. Since you're so worried about, proper, usage of everything, then please do explain to me how I'm an incel because I don't like what you like. And he didn't say anything after that. But I'm just I'm tired of it. It's old. It's not working anymore. Where you used to be able to bully people and act like you had moral authority because you called them names so they'd try to shame them into agreeing with you. It's not working anymore. People are like, kiss my ass. I know I'm not these things. I don't have to like your dog shit and then say, give me more to make you think I'm not these things. And just not liking something or disagreeing with something does not make you a terrible person. And I'm sorry, I don't care if there's diverse people in it. It doesn't mean it's not shit. It doesn't mean the writing doesn't suck. It doesn't mean that it's not stupid. And I'm tired of this. Well, there's diverse people and you have to like it and you can only say nice things. Fuck that. Like how you do.
Yeah, I think that's it, and that's what we're talking about. Equality versus equity, right? And I think that there are people who believe that, they don't believe in true equality, which means that you get equal criticism.
That's it. You only could be. It's a shield. It is a shield.
Right.
And you were talking about who's being shitty to diverse people. I don't think it's people you're blaming.
Well, we're going to talk about that because actually Polygon called it out. They said that by calling attention to the pronouns thing in Star Wars, which is weird because it's never come up in Star Wars that I'm aware of. And by calling attention to it, it actually is worse because you're like othering the alien or something.
Well, that's just it. And the thing is, what they're doing is they're too busy out there trying to use this as a reason to lecture everyone. And I'm sorry, Leslie Headland is like super out there. Look, I'm a lesbian woman. I put my wife in the movie or the show and everything else. Look at me. I'm all about agenda.
Don't look at my resume.
What did you I know, right? What did you flippin' expect? Like, I mean, she basically just wrote a fanfic and it was self-inserts throughout the whole thing. It's She-Ra, Princess of Power all over again.
It is.
Every character was some alphabet person. And the thing is, what you've done is you alienated the fans that liked it, and then you're like, well, they're automatically bigots. It's like, no, because they know that since we're leading with this shit, that means it's going to be about diversity and inclusion first, and story second. So it's going to be dog shit, and that's why the general public isn't watching.
Well, I think what's going on, and Tassie talks about the review bombing. The review bombing isn't even in a lot of cases. It's not even about the product itself so much as it is consumers doing what they feel like they can do, or the only thing that they can do to protest the direction of a franchise or direction of a company.
Well, in this case, I mean, I don't think it's probably not as bad enough for 14%. No, I haven't seen it.
I'd give it the episode I saw, I only watched episode 3. But the episode I saw, I'd give it a 3. I mean,
so like a 30. That's what I've been saying. I think 30 or so percent, I think would be more fair. But it's not an 84 to 90 some percent the critics are giving it either.
No.
It's
very mid. It's not even mid.
It's like I'm hearing as the more episodes that come across, the more people tune it out. And they're like, it's getting crappier and crappier because you did your diversity in dinosaurs over good storytelling. And it shows.
Yeah. So this is come on, Paul. You know better than this. Why is this happening? Why are people review bombing The Acolyte? There are a bunch
because it sucks.
Yeah, pretty much. There are a bunch of dimensions. None of them are good.
Let me guess. It's all men, toxic men who hate women and hate diversity and hate people that aren't white and all this other stupid bullshit.
Yeah, there's a lot of,
here we go. There's absolutely a racial and gender component to this. Look, do I think people are review bombing The Acolyte? Yes. Do I think that people were review boosting The Acolyte? Yes. Because I saw the comments, I saw these new counts and everything else. I think it went both ways. Do I think that The Acolyte is just poor Acolyte? It didn't suck and everybody's just saying it sucks because they're mad about, POCs and, people being lesbians and all that, women and stuff. No. I think some people might be, but I also know there have been women in Star Wars before people had loved. There have been people that weren't white in Star Wars before people loved because they were good characters who happen to be diverse. You guys are keep making shitty characters that are diverse, which is an insult to the diverse people to begin with. And then you're like, well, you don't like our shitty characters. You're a bigot.
Oh, I mean, George Lucas was basically saying the same thing at Cannes Film Festival. He said that there were women in Star Wars before now. You know this, right? And Disney.
There were people that weren't white in Star Wars before now. Finn got robbed. Yeah, I would have loved to see Finn be trained as a Jedi. That's what I thought we were going to get.
Yeah, he roasted the hell out of Disney. Not head on. I mean, I think he had to be careful in what he said, but he basically said Disney doesn't get Star Wars.
They don't get the Force.
They don't get the Force.
I'm sorry, the thread.
The thread. They don't. I mean,
scissors cut the thread. I'm sorry.
Everything that even the prequels, they basically. I mean, that's my big criticism with this. Like, it completely undoes the prequels anyway. Like, what's the freaking point? Like, the whole point of Anakin was he was a chosen one because like, oh wow, this kid was born by the Force. This has never happened before.
No, apparently it's been happening all the time.
Happens all the time.
Just like get knocked up by chanting. And then they keep bringing up about the comment that Amanda Stenberg or whatever her name is said. Yeah, I will say that she didn't say it in regards to this. It was from years ago. But there's a mentality there that people are afraid is carrying through. But it was from a while back. So we don't bring that up in relation to this because it was from a long time ago. We know that.
Yeah. So like he's basically trying. Yeah, he actually brings up the Anakin thing. Again, that was George Lucas.
They're allegedly breaking canon. You're breaking canon.
George Lucas always had. I mean, people were very critical. I remember when the Phantom Menace came out, they were very critical of Anakin being conceived by the Force, right? And so I think he had this idea for a long time. Now, I think had he done the movies in order, started with number 1, I think the studio would have been like, yeah, it's stupid and sacrilegious and don't do that. And also make the kid like 15 or 16 because it's dumb to have a 9-year-old running around, screaming.
I think that's what it was about age. I think the age of the characters more than anything. Now, they did bring up a point. They said you don't know where they came from. They said that everybody's assuming it's the Force birth, but they said they have no father, but they didn't say how. And we don't know that. So that's, that if it turns out it's something else, then okay, there you go. But if not, I mean, there's a reason why people are upset. And there's a good reason. This
reminds me of Alien. It reminds me of Prometheus because everybody speculated for years and they actually had it in the comics, before about that, the origin of the engineers and the origin of the xenomorphs and whatever. And then, but at least it was Ridley Scott coming back and being like, no, everything you thought you knew is wrong. And there were aliens that were more advanced than the aliens we saw in the Sigourney Weaver movies before. And somehow they got down, like we had aliens that could like spawn just by breathing them in Covenant. And it was like, people were like, what the hell? Then why they downgrade them? Oh yeah, by the way, they were all kind of genetically engineered by this rogue AI. So we're just kind of like toss a grenade. But at least that was Ridley Scott going back to his original. George Lucas goes back to it and fucks everything up, which he's done multiple times, and I can totally admit that. That's George. But this is other people fucking George's stuff up. It's kind of like
okay when you fuck your own stuff. Let anybody else fuck it.
Right? Yeah. If you want to, pretty much that's getting fucked over by the Force. This is corporate bullshit. Corporate meddling. We've got too many cooks in the kitchen. Like, look, I'm so detached from this. I can just kind of look at it and be like, I tell you what happened here. You got little teams of people working on Star Wars. None of them are really communicating. They're just kind of doing their own fan fiction using the Star Wars brand.
No, what this was Leslie Headland, Kathleen Kennedy, full on doing this. Now it's been in development and they've been working on it for years. I think Disney could, I think Disney now would cancel it, or they would have definitely stopped it in some way. But back then they're like, oh, we can't say no because we'll look bad. And now they're probably like, we should have said no because this is bad.
I think and this is why I think there's so much controversy around this particular Star Wars. Like the other ones kind of came and went. Like Andor came and went. And the biggest brouhaha I remember about Andor was Star Wars Theory said he didn't like the bricks or something because he said it didn't feel like Star Wars to just have like regular old brickwork in Star Wars. And that was like the biggest controversy. But then what happened was nobody watched it. So what?
I don't think anybody's really watching this one either.
I don't think they are.
I think if you see the numbers, it's probably going down week over week, but they're not telling you that. Because if it was a win and they were getting record-breaking numbers every episode, you'd be hearing about it.
Well, yeah, and what's going to happen is like they try to rally the troops. Basically, what they're trying to do is weaponize the antis to stick it to the critics like it's 2017, like it's still 2017. They're gonna be like, okay, guys, now if you're gonna stick to the bigots, you gotta watch the show, you gotta support the show, whatever. It's like, yeah, when all the toys get dumped off at Ollie's, nobody gives a shit, and everybody forgets that this thing existed, and it gets retconned to have existence in another decade or two. Yeah. I mean,
here's my thing. Some people like it, and that's completely fine. Like, if you like it, that's cool. I'm not going to say anything to you for liking it. That's up to you. Everybody's different.
Fine. Whatever.
What I don't like is the fact you are not allowed to not like this. Like, you are just not allowed. And I have seen so many people come under attack because they don't like it, and immediately they're without even like asking why. You say you don't like it, you don't like this person or that kind of person or whatever. You're a bigot. You're like a guy said, I don't like it. Well, you're literally an incel. It's like, well, how the fuck do you know? He just doesn't like the show. And that's how it's been with Disney Star Wars. You are never allowed to not like it. But if you like it, it's completely fine. I honestly think if you like it, that's completely cool. I think people should be allowed to enjoy what they enjoy. If you don't like it, also completely cool. You don't have to like it. But that this whole point, I think what's getting magnified is the fact that you have this group that goes around actively attacking anyone who doesn't like it.
Yeah.
And they lead with that. They lead with the attacks and not conversation. And because they automatically attack people, you're just turning more people against it. I think that's why now when people hear diverse and inclusive, and that's what something's leading with, they immediately tune, and they were talking to the general public, immediately tune it out and turn away from it. Not because they're against diversity and inclusion. I'm talking about people who aren't straight, white, and male included in this. They're just so tired of this forced bullshit, over the top.
Forced bullshit.
Over the top, like not representative, but just like, agenda driven shit that isn't even good. That's kind of insulting to the people they claim they're representing. And then they push that, and that's a story. Well, what about the characters? The characters are diverse. Okay, and? Well, they're diverse, but are they good characters? Well, I don't care. They're diverse. And if you don't like it, you're a bigot. They're just turning everyone against it. Even before it starts, everybody had their back up against this stuff. And that's a problem because people are turning against people that are diverse and inclusive subconsciously, not because they're against them normally, but just because they're so tired of being told they're a shitty person that they just automatically walk away so they don't have to even engage.
Well, okay, so that's what's actually going on. What happens is as soon as a company starts pushing, well, this is the most diverse and inclusive thing we've come out this week, and we're changing it for modern audiences. All these buzzwords, all these kind of like red flags. People are like, yeah, that's it. I'm not doing it. I'm not tuning in. Now it's weird. I'm looking at like Star Trek, the way they're handling Star Trek right now, Paramount, and they were kind of leading with Discovery because they knew it wasn't a very good show, in my opinion. But they're leading with, we got a diverse, inclusive cast.
Exactly.
I'm like, have you never seen Star Trek before? Oh, we've got a black captain. I'm like,
yeah, they've done that.
We've done that. We've had women captain. We've had, half of the next gen cast, not white males. So then the Orville comes out, and the Orville actually gets it better. 90s gets Star Trek better. 90s Star Trek better than the official Star Trek.
Right.
And they don't call attention to the fact that, we've got an openly gay character from a strictly gay society. We've got, half the cast is black. We've got other LGBTQ, whatever. But they're just like, just watch our show because it's good science fiction. That's all you got to do.
That's how you see with the Star Wars, or just in general. Like, we come from a different time too. Like back when we were younger, all the big movies, like, were very diverse and nobody cared. Nobody cared. It's like, this one was, you go see this movie or that movie, and it's like about the characters in the movie and just happened to have a black lead, happened to have a female lead. But you didn't flippin' care. That's what's going on. Instead of telling people, and instead of focusing on characterization and story and being like, okay, you need to come watch the show because we're going to focus on this. It's going to have, we've studied the lore. It's going to have good characters. It's going to have a great, story to it. And it's going to explain more about this. People are like, well, diversity, inclusion, you're a bunch of bigots. Plus the people in charge are diversity, inclusion. And what's your favorite Star Wars movie? All of them. So you already know someone who's behind it isn't even invested enough to even have a favorite. Right. So it's not even like real. And so you go into it knowing what you're going to get, and that's exactly what you're given. And then Tassie at the bottom was talking about, and the other article was talking about, we've seen this happen in the Star Wars fandom over the years, and I can't feel it's getting worse. It is getting worse, Paul. And it's because of the people that are out there constantly harassing anybody who doesn't like it. But it's getting worse, but it's not for the people that you're blaming it on. But you know what? This is a tempest in a teapot because outside of the internet, outside of Twitter, outside of YouTube, nobody gives a shit. That's what I'm saying. The normies aren't coming either. They don't care. The reason, like, you can say, well, they're destroying Star Wars. Nerdrotic is single-handedly destroying interest in Star Wars. How can you be the vocal minority and have all the power at the same time? Right. It's Schrodinger's fan base. It's like you're the cause of all the problems, but you're not big enough to actually have any effect on anything, and they're going to step over you. It just depends on who's spinning the narrative that week. But like, the general public has checked out from Star Wars. There's a reason all the toys and shit are rotting at Ollie's because the general public doesn't care about Star Wars anymore. They go to Galaxy's Edge because it's part of Disney World.
They're going to go ride the new
because they want to see the Falcon.
Pretty much, yeah.
And they want to ride Rise of the Resistance because it's a cool ride and it has walkers in it. And when the cannons are working, they were really cool too. And they just want to see because of Star Wars, but people just don't care. Why did the Star Cruiser Hotel fail? Besides the money, people don't care.
They don't care.
You have just completely created apathy in the general public, and then you keep trying to blame it on these people. And again, when the old school fans are mad, a lot of them don't even care anymore, which is your big problem.
Yep.
But you have them and they're angry, and instead of like saying, why are they mad? What can we do? You're like, let's go pick on them more and call them names. And then they don't come back. And then you're like blaming them for it. You get like a couple people who do shitty things. I'm not saying that people didn't attack actors online. I'm sure it happened, but I'm sure it was a really tiny, like fraction of a % that behaved that way. Most people did not behave that way. And then you try to paint everyone as you're a terrible person because one person did this. And because you're doing that, everybody's just like, fuck you. I'm not even going to watch Star Wars anymore. You can have it.
That's where I'm at with it. And this is coming from a guy who, we grew up watching Star Wars, obviously.
I read all the books. How did they put me in a book?
You're in one of the books.
Even though the Wookiepedia is probably going to change that too, because they're changing things now to pander and to cater to the new shows and to retcon history because it fits the new show lore.
We're getting there. We're getting there. So but just a lot of people have checked out. So this I thought was very interesting though. I brought to your attention this morning. We got busy
this is
today.
Polygon, guys.
This is Polygon. Polygon, which is a quote unquote woke video game news site, guys. They're saying that the calling attention to pronouns in Star Wars is really weird.
Because it's a time and place for it, and they're just trying to shoehorn it in.
This article is called "Dear TV Writers, Please Stop Being Weird About Pronouns." The Acolyte is the latest example of a bizarre trend.
Yep.
They said that, this is the 4th episode, which I have not watched, but they're in a bar or something. And they said, who's that? Person says, that's Basil. And Osha says, is he dramatic pause or they dun 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 with us?
Yeah, I saw the clip.
So, which, normally it wouldn't be that, but it's like, look, they're trying real hard to look progressive and they call him out. I think they call him out. This is funny. They said this is the latest example of what I'm going to call the globby problem, expertly parodied on the other two. See, I don't know. I'm old, whatever. But some well-meaning writers and showrunners, some of them queer themselves, awkwardly trying to insert non-binary or genderqueer representation into their show, usually through the show's requisite weirdo character. The result is often pretty othering.
Yes, exactly.
Like, oh, that thing over there. Do I call it they?
Right.
It's like, is that a man or a woman or what is it?
I don't know. Start saying the power of one, the power of two, the power of many, and see if it gets knocked up. Then you'll know.
You'll know. I guess can we make it force preggers? And the Acolyte, Osha only asks about Basil's pronouns, not those of any of the other people she meets. This reveals more about the character than I think the Acolyte's writers were intending. The exchange implies she is actively othering Basil and assuming he, yes, is later revealed.
I was going to say, that does assume it's a he.
He, him, uses he, him pronouns, which makes all this even sillier. Must be gender variant because he looks odd to her.
I just think this whole thing's stupid. We saw it in Doctor Who, and now they're doing it in Star Wars. And they're both in decline. Wonder why.
Wonder why? Yeah, Doctor Who, they made a whole big deal. Like the doctor was just a woman and they have to lecture the doctor on pronoun usage. Like, and it's not even, at least in Star Wars, it was like a one-off, whatever. In Doctor Who, it's like a very special episode. They actually sit the doctor down. The Doctor Who is like, God knows how old now, millions of years old and has been everywhere, done everything, been everybody now, apparently. We have to explain proper pronoun usage to the fucking doctor. Like, come on. But yeah, they're like, I get the effort is to remind the viewer that not everyone subscribes to a binary of gender expression, and OSHA's trying to be open-minded.
You would expect that in an alien environment. You'd expect them, because, well, first of all, you're assuming that they're male, female, what if in their world there's some other kind of thing? So they would have been probably fair until you knew. Alienation,
the show Alienation, which I think that show's underrated. That was a 90s show on Fox. They had 3 genders. They actually had male, female, and I think they were binoms. I haven't watched it in a long time, but there was like a third gender that to get pregnant, they needed all 3 of them.
Oh, that sounds like a party.
Yeah.
That's the power of one, the power of 2, the power of many.
So
right there you go.
The man, the woman, and the force. Yeah, but there was and I remember them having this episode where it was like, they found somebody had murdered one of the third gender ones, and they're like, they lift the sheet up and they're like, what the hell is that? And they never show it, whatever it is, but it's like, what the hell is that?
We can't say that now. That's mean.
What the hell is that?
Now, when you go down here, though, they said the Acolyte is going out of its way to make a show of only asking about the characters look the most different is quite weird, and unfortunately makes Osha kind of look like a dick.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to say that? Because does Osha identify as she, her? How dare you?
Well, yeah, it does kind of, doesn't it come across that way?
Yeah.
Like, I'd be like, okay, what the Wookiee? Can we like part its fur and see, does it have a dick? Do Wookiees have dicks?
And then it said, I don't know. Then it said the end result is that no one is happy. Toxic Star Wars fans are mad for usual bigoted reasons. And I'm mad because it's so thoughtless. Nuh-uh. If you're mad at all, it's because you're a bigot. I don't care if you explain your reasoning. As soon as you're mad about the pronouns, you are a bigot, writer. I don't care. Doesn't matter if you have a thoughtful reason to ask a question or think it's wrong. That makes you a bigot automatically because that's how this works. Did you not know this? I'm not a bigot like those people. I'm asking a fair question. A lot of people ask the same question. Guess what? They got called bigots. This is how it works. What's the writer's name? I need to make sure I name them. What's the writer's name? This is how it works. Pete. This is how it works, Pete. As soon as you ask questions, even if they're a valid question, and even because you're more offended by the people that's offending, doesn't fucking matter. You're a bigot, Pete. You ask the question. You ask, why do you need pronouns in Star Wars? You don't need that. So you're a fucking bigot, Pete. That's how this works. People like you have set this up this way. That's how it works, Pete. Welcome to bigotry.
This is a lot. This is so weird. I literally just got done talking about alienation. Apparently,
he put it in the article?
No, Discovery had a planet with three genders on it, and Captain Burnham was like, "Oh my God, there's 3 genders," but there were actually multiple gendered people on the ship, and they're like, "It's so weird that they're like, oh my God, look at all the genders on this planet." I mean, normally in science fiction, it's kind of like they don't like come out and say, it's kind of like, oh, okay, how does this species reproduce? Okay, that's okay, whatever.
I would assume there'd be different ways, you know?
Yeah,
some might clone each other, some might split.
Well, they did. You know? Star Trek, they've actually had plants. They had a plant full of clones, and then they had to go get some fresh DNA, and they had to like intermingle the bumpkins with the
the Amish.
Yeah, well, I think that's what it was. Yeah, because
you were like, what?
No.
Okay, so
okay, explain this. You're from Pennsylvania. Explain this.
True story. Amish people were so inbred that their kids started having a lot of health issues. So they were paying Englishmen, that's what they call people that aren't Amish, to sleep with their wives, so that they could get new DNA, fresh DNA,
fresh horses.
They wouldn't. They can stop some of the genetic diseases that are being spread around when you're all interrelated, and because of it, that's what they did. So, yeah. That's why it's like the Amish.
Yeah, so this was it was an episode of Next Gen, and it was like they had these elitists that were cloning each other, and they were kind of copy of a copy of a copy, and their DNA was degrading.
So the one liked pizza and said that she touched his pee-pee. I get it.
Yeah, but anyway, so then they had to figure out a plan. They're like, okay, well, you get like 5 wives, and you got to knock her up, so you get some diversity in here, and within a few generations, you guys will be fine. But I'm sitting there thinking, like, you guys are all going to be related anyway.
I don't know. I mean, I would assume, I honestly would assume if you're in a show involving aliens, that they're going to be different types of people. Okay, here we go, guys. In the case of the Acolyte, it feels like at best an empty gesture and empty pandering toward queer fans. At worst, Disney is weaponizing the most toxic fans in the Star Wars fan base to drive conversation by making sure they're predictably mad about nothing. Oh, wait. So wait again. He's mad about it.
Yes.
He's mad. But he's not one of the toxic people mad about nothing. He has a point. I'm not one of those bigots. Except a lot of people you're labeling bigots might also feel similar, and they're automatically labeled bigots, Pete. See how this works? See how this works, Pete?
Yeah. So, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, like, and again, so if you're trying to normalize this, calling attention to it just looks like you're trying to get fist bumps. And we've seen this time and time and time again. And
automatically, right when they put that headline, they're going to be called bigot now.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So there's like 43 comments. That's more than Polygon gets on their sites usually. Beyond pronouns, I agree with you about well-meaning writers stumbling when trying to be progressive or make social commentary. It might be because they're scared of going too far and offending others. It's like lip service, though. It takes me out of the story. That's true, especially when you start dealing with like current year issues or current year, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It feels very, very weird. But let's talk about retconning, and this is the bigger issue. Now, you said about
this is going to be a very long episode.
This is a very special episode of Clownfish TV because we're going to cram all of our Acolyte videos into one video. But actually, I'm going to be again.
Well, here you go. You can go through later and just make them 5 or 3 short videos.
I'll just double and triple dip. I'll just mega grift.
A mega grift. I love it. I love it how you're always a grifter if you call stuff out, but then people who are not usually fans of something start calling out those, like, then they're not a grifter, but you are.
I don't understand the rules. I don't understand the rules.
Change depending on the person.
So if you're a journalist working for a publication that somebody likes, you're just doing your job. If you're writing comic books and that person likes your comics, you're just doing your job. But if you write comics that they don't like, or you write articles they don't like, you're a grifter because you got paid.
Videos they don't like. You're a grifter.
You're a grifter. I don't understand the rules. I don't understand. Basically, if you get paid doing something I personally do not approve of, you are a grifter. That's
But other people that are grifting too, but they're okay. I like them, so they're fine. So the other new thing that people are really mad about, because they keep retconning shit in the show, and I guess they retconned how you say it? Ki-Adi-Mundi,
the Conehead dude
from the prequels.
From the prequels.
And they retconned this by his age, so much so that Wookiepedia apparently went back and changed the information to line up with the show. And if you question it, the people are yelling, "It's legacy! It's not! It wasn't canon. You show me where it's canon. It was legacy, and it doesn't mean anything because legacy doesn't matter anymore because after Disney bought all that legacy stuff is not canon anymore."
Oh, so, George's stuff isn't canon anymore. I know, because
I was like, he was in the prequel, so how is that not legacy, or how's that like not canon?
Yeah,
I was like, what?
Yeah, so we'll talk about this because this is what people are actually now. Look, are there people mad about race and gender in the Acolyte being front and center? Yeah, okay, I'm sure there are. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is what they're doing to Star Wars canon. Like, I think Star Wars fans do have a right to be upset when they retcon things like Anakin Skywalker and they destroy Luke Skywalker. When they turn Han Solo into a deadbeat dad, things like that. I think Star Wars fans who have invested decades and countless thousands and even millions of dollars into the fandom, I think they have a right to be a little angry that Disney's just so flippant about it. They're just so flippant about
original characters.
The original characters, right?
The original canon, yeah.
But yeah, this particular Jedi, he was created by George Lucas. He was in all the prequels. And they did have kind of the canon backstory for him. And I remember because I actually had I think it was DK Publishing did the encyclopedias. And back in the day, I had the Phantom Menace one, and they had spotlight on all the Jedi Council members. And because you only saw them for a couple seconds, or a couple minutes in the movie. And I was like, oh, yeah, this guy's got an action figure. I want to know more. It's kind of like the Cantina aliens, right? And they did that for all the pod racers and stuff, too. But I remember him he was supposed to be, like 60-ish years old, and he was married to a bunch of women or something, whatever. I don't remember the specifics, but they said they went into Wookiepedia now to retcon this guy because they had to make him at least 100 and some years old to be present during the Acolyte. But then people were also like, well, wait a second. If they're dealing with Sith or Sith adjacent characters, he was the one who said that no one's seen a Sith in 1,000 years. Like, he literally said no one's seen a Sith. Oh, except for that one that happened. Yeah, there's never been.
Years ago that I forgot about.
Yeah, I forgot all about that. Because I'm getting pretty old, I guess. Oh, yeah, and the virgin birth thing. Yeah, he must be a chosen one. Except for, oh, no, there were these twins.
I forgot to mention it, guys.
I forgot to mention
No,
these
it's called
twins.
you're retconning shit for your own show, and now you're trying to make it fit in the story by changing everything else.
Yeah, so OG Star Wars here is calling it out and saying
because people keep saying, oh, it's not canon. It was Legends. It's not canon.
Yeah. And George Lucas was involved heavily in the Jedi Council. I remember him saying that. So this weirded me out when I was younger, because I always imagined that the Jedi were mostly human and Yoda was the outlier.
I honestly always thought the Jedi were different types of people, because different types of aliens and stuff, because I used to read the books and they often were in the books. And I just always assumed that they were, because one of the things Empire originally was supposed to be against aliens so much. That's one of the reasons Thrawn was so special, was because the Emperor was mostly against non-humanoid type people, creatures, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's why Thrawn being, Grand Admiral was really, out there. And so I always assumed the Jedi would be the opposite. So they would be encouraging people, creatures of all different kinds to be Jedi.
Yeah, but I didn't expect them all to be so damn weird looking. That was my thing, because they were like the Jedi Council were like the weirdest looking aliens, like outside the cantina. Like they didn't look like, to me, they didn't look like, at the time, they didn't look like what I thought to be Star Wars aliens, because they were all like, long necks and big heads and like Weird Al Yankovic said. But I thought it was kind of weird. But I wanted to know more about them. And I do remember this. He was supposed to be, about 60 something years old.
70 there.
70. Yeah, this is during an Attack of the Clones. So, yeah. So it was like, yes, now they're saying, oh, he's like 150. It's a film source, it's canon. But they're just throwing everything out.
But these people are like, they don't want to hear it. No, it's not canon. It's not canon. So Wookiepedia went back and retconned it.
They retconned it
to make it that he was there. And then somebody said like, they said, well, he would have been born then in the same year that the Acolyte was. And they're like, but then he'd be a baby. He wouldn't have been an adult. Yeah. And it's just ridiculous the way they're bending it backwards to try to retcon this shit to the place that they're literally changing it in Wikipedia after the fact.
Well, we've seen, there were other instances in the Star Wars shows, especially, where they just kind of like, what they were doing kind of flew in the face of established lore or whatever. But I think the reason that they got rid of the expanded universe is a side tangent was that we had a bunch of new people getting into Star Wars, making Star Wars that had no experience with Star Wars, and they didn't want to bother. They didn't want to bother with canon. They just wanted to take like, oh, I remember that Conehead guy, let's throw him in there, and I remember this, whatever, let's throw that in there.
But even if he wasn't there, it's worse because they haven't been around for a millennia. But no,
yeah,
I forgot.
I forgot. I'm so old. I forgot. I just forgot. Yeah, so
I've had Alzheimer's for a really long time.
Well, he's got a very large brain, and maybe that's so he can remember shit. But then they actually bring up in this article, I thought was kind of interesting. This is coming from Gizmodo. They're like, why don't they have term limits on the Jedi Council? Because a lot of people thought,
right?
Because you got Yoda's there for how many hundreds of years? You got this guy, and these other aliens are all really old or whatever.
That's a good point.
But so it's like, it's all your fault. It's all your fault that everything went to shit. I don't know, guys. Like, look, I don't think any of this stuff is to me, it's not canon. It's Disney Star Wars.
Definitely not.
And George Lucas himself doesn't think it's canon. And again, if you enjoy it, fantastic, good for you.
I'm not going to make fun of you for liking it, but don't tell me I'm a bigot because I don't.
Yeah, pretty much. Are we going to wrap this up? I think we need to wrap this up.
Yeah.
This one's going long. Oh my God, this one went long. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.